Throughout the centuries, the importance of the teacher-student relationship has prevailed, and the quality of teachers remains vital to ensuring that all students receive a high-quality education. It's very clear from research, most notably that of Richard Elmore at the Harvard Graduate School of Education, that the quality of the interactions between teachers and students in relationship to the curriculum has a significant impact on student achievement. In fact, the quality of this relationship has been demonstrated to overcome the impact of poverty, mobility, and prior academic experiences. It's absolutely vital. It trumps everything else. But in today's economic climate, teachers cannot do it alone. Every one of us will be called upon more and more to interact with the schools in our community, to ensure that they have the resources necessary to offer the high-quality education that all of our students richly deserve, and to tap into our innovative spirits and our collective wisdom, and to share our skills with the schools in our communities. Ohio absolutely has to have a well-educated and informed workforce to compete in today's global 21st century economy. We have to graduate all students with a sense of purpose, who are well prepared for life after high school. Our students have to be equipped with not just content, but essential skills as well. Skills such as problem solving, cooperative work ethic, effective communication, skills that will cross over time and areas. We have to make a commitment now to ensure that Ohio's future workers can cross geographic, cultural, and economic boundaries using leadership skills that make them valuable anywhere in this world. Ohio students will not just be competing for jobs within their communities. In fact, they're not going to be competing with jobs with other workers from Ohio. They will, in fact, be competing with highly trained workers from all over the world. Because in the future, their workplace will be across time zones and cultures. And we have to provide experiences in our schools today that will allow our students to engage in those kinds of working relationships. So there's such a critical need for reforming education in Ohio as well as throughout the United States. And as I mentioned, nowhere before in time have we been at a more critical juncture, because we have to make some very important decisions, not just in Ohio, but across our country as well. We have heard in the last couple of months the President and the Secretary of Education calling for dramatic changes in education system. And this call for us to stand tall comes in the midst of an economic downturn. And in the middle of this economic woe in which we find ourselves, we have to simply stand up and decide what we need and what we want for all of our children. We know that business and industry continue to hammer away at education, letting educators know on a daily basis that they continue to question the quality of our graduates. And I would suggest that if they were in this room and listened to your speech today, they would never have that question again. The United States has slipped from first place to 8th in the number of college graduates in the world. What is even more concerning to me is that Ohio ranks 35th in the nation, 35th in the nation for its percentage of adult workers with a bachelor's degree. So the essential question for all of us in Ohio is, are we content to be in 35th place? Recently, a news report was issued that suggests that only 1 out of every 2 U.S. college students ever attains a degree, from the time they start college to the time that they complete it. So it is critical that we all come together to design a system that will produce well-qualified workers to help us attract technology, businesses, and jobs to Ohio, to revitalize our economy and to keep talent here in Ohio. So we can't afford to lose any student before graduation. Focusing educational reform to respond to the needs of the global community means that we have to do things differently. It also means that we have to challenge the status quo and perhaps even reshape our own individual adult roles, sometimes out of our own comfort level. I'm encouraged that over the past number of years, state and federal education reforms have forced more people to talk about education than ever before, sometimes arguing about it even, but specifically how to raise student achievement, improve our struggling schools, and help all students learn the knowledge and skills that they need to be successful in post-secondary education and careers. Last summer, Governor Strickland and the Ohio General Assembly passed a comprehensive education reform plan as part of House Bill 1, and it has challenged us indeed. Some of the reforms in House Bill 1 are already impacting districts, and others are on hold, waiting for the economy to recover. This House Bill 1 is really intended to lift up education across the state of Ohio and to truly enhance its place in the country. The Ohio Department of Education is working to finalize new and more rigorous academic content standards in the 4 core areas, and those will be adopted by the State Board of Education this summer. And this will ultimately hold students to higher standards, help students gain a deeper knowledge of the core academic subject areas, and most importantly, be integrated into those kinds of skills which I referenced earlier: cooperative learning, effective communication, problem solving, analytical reasoning, and the like. Through House Bill 1, we are also working to develop a system of reforms to improve the quality and effectiveness of all of Ohio's educators, coming to terms with teacher preparation programs, making them much more a vital part of each and every K-12 school district in Ohio. We are also reaching beyond our state boundaries to support educational reform. Ohio is currently engaged in a number of platforms to applying for federal funds that will build on our already strong educational initiatives. You have probably heard most recently about our application for the Federal Race to the Top program. This program is an historic opportunity to leverage federal resources to accelerate these reforms and impact the education of all students. And hopefully on your way in, but if you didn't get one on your way out, I would suggest you pick up an independent guide to Ohio's Race to the Top application, which was actually completed by the Ohio Grantmakers Forum and Kids Ohio, because there's a great analysis of our application in there. In January, we were one of 41 states who applied for the Phase 1 of Race to the Top. And out of these 41 states, we were honored to be selected as one of 16 finalists. Although we were not among the 2 states who were selected for funding in the Phase 1 round, we were pleased to finish 10th overall and believe that this makes us well positioned in applying for Phase 2, which is due June 1st. And the Race to the Top grant focuses on reforms around 4 priority areas, things that we've already been hearing about, both at the federal level as well as at the state level. Increased and more comprehensive standards for students, and a more well-balanced assessment design which fits in line with House Bill 1, which will actually eliminate the Ohio graduation test in favor of end-of-course exams and a college readiness assessment, which is much more indicative of the work that students are doing in their classrooms. Another area of assurance is the data systems to support instruction, so that at the state level we are building a foundation for all of our teachers to have ready access to data, high-quality data, which will inform their instruction so they can better personalize instruction. There's another assurance area on great teachers and leaders, ensuring that we have the highest quality teachers and leaders for all of Ohio's schools. And again, not predetermining those by any zip code or any other indicator. And certainly a great assurance area around turning around the lowest achieving schools. And in fact, by the federal government, we were required to identify the 5% of the lowest performing schools in our state, and we will be working with those districts to turn those schools around. There are several sections I have to report in the application which we did very well. In fact, we received a near perfect score in the standards and assessment area, so I'm still looking for those other 0.6 of a point, so we'll find that. But we're receiving the feedback that we received on our Phase 1 application from the U.S. Department of Education to strengthen our application for Phase 2, which, as I mentioned, is due June 1st. One of our major efforts in Phase 2 is to increase the number of school districts and community schools who sign on to participate in our Race to the Top efforts, because that is an area in which we did not receive the highest scores. If we are successful in Phase 2, Ohio could receive $400 million, with at least half of that funding going directly to the participating local education agencies, the local school districts and community schools. The remaining half is directed at statewide initiatives to support and deepen work already required of districts, such as the rollout of those new standards and the development of those assessments that I mentioned earlier. So receiving Race to the Top funds will also return federal funds to Ohio to benefit our children, and that is so important for all of us in Ohio, because I'm sure that we would all agree here that we pay federal taxes and we do not want to be funding others' initiatives in other states. We would like to return those federal dollars to Ohio. As I mentioned, many of the reforms in our Race to the Top application are already included in House Bill 1, and it is likely that many of these elements will also be included in the reauthorization of ESEA, formerly known as No Child Left Behind. The funds from Race to the Top will help us accelerate the implementation of these reforms, which are vital to the future success of Ohio's education system and our students.